Hello and good day to you, my beautiful friends. I do hope you are well. Welcome to episode 89 of Cross Button VR, our journey into the world of VR. Now, I'm your host, Laurie, and it is an honor to be joined by one of the most scintillating influencers in the metaverse. It's Reece. Hello,
2
Reece.
seconds. I'm just going to Google what that word means.
Scintillating.
Yeah, where did you even find that one?
That's just in my...
I just made myself sound like a right idiot. Everybody's going to be in the comments like, this is what it means. Okay.
I mean, it's a hard word, I suppose, if you ask me to give you a definition of it, but you are scintillating.
Okay, cool. Can you put it in a sentence?
Reece is scintillating.
Oh, okay, that works too. I love having these idiot starts to the episodes. It's great.
Sparkling or shining brightly. Brilliantly and excitingly clever or skillful. I think that sums you up there. Brilliantly and excitingly clever or skillful. You're certainly skillful at certain VR games.
Take away the clever.
So brilliantly and excitingly skillful. You are scintillatingly good at VR horror games. There you go.
Yeah, brilliant.
Why do people tune in to hear your scintillating hot takes on?
They tune in for that
stuff
intro that you do.
And then they switch off. That's why we don't get the hours, you see. If you like the intro, wait till you hear the outro. Just keep listening. Keep listening. We'll have a surprise at the end. We won't really. I'm just trying to keep you listening till the end so we can get our watch hours up. But if they would like to support us, give us a sub on whatever service you're using. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Leave us a comment. The algorithm seems to like that as well. And you can follow us on Blue Sky at Crossbutton VR, and everywhere else you may be as well. You can find us at Crossbutton VR, even on Facebook. So yeah, we've got no Alex this week. He's gone away again. Kid's always going away, isn't he?
Lives his life up, that one, doesn't he?
Living the dream, as they say. Yeah, I don't know if he's gone abroad, if he's just gone to another hot tub weekend, like he's fond of. We don't know if he's got his quest with him. We just don't know, Reece.
He better have his quest with him.
Fucking better do.
I've got games I want to play.
Yeah, well,
don't matter.
He's got to finish Batman.
I think he's got to start it still, that one, isn't he? I still got to finish it.
Has he not started Batman? That's a bit shocking.
I don't know. I think he's jumped into every other game that we've got to play. Whereas me, I'm still trying to.
You see, you fools with two headsets.
Meaty.
You possibly play all these games. Oh, you can somehow. Oh,
no kids.
The joy of not having kids.
Yeah, exactly. No kids. I've got a dog that barks every few minutes. So I can just be like, go away for a second. Let me game.
I did play the VR with the dog in the room, and I was a bit like, okay, are you just going to stay on the sofa and sleep? Yeah, you just stay there and sleep. And every now and then I have to keep kind of looking at the pass through. It's like, yep, you're still there. You're still there. That's good.
That's what I was like when we got ours, because we got our pup before the PSVR2 came out, and it was absolutely nerve-wracking because the first few weeks he chewed for a couple of wires, and I was like, please don't bite through the PSVR2 wire. I'd be really upset. No, he was actually really good. Every time I was on it, he was like, I don't want to step next to this person in case he treads on me. So, they've
got intuition, haven't they? My human's clearly weird and wants to go hang out with this VR world.
Cats are weird with VR people, though. So that's another story for another time.
Next week, let's park that and we'll do an episode. Maybe next week, maybe some other time in the future, we'll do pets in VR. What's it all about?
Yeah.
It could be a special focus.
How weird they can be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how weird. Anyway, let's get into the main topic of the week. And that is that PSVR2 Pro has arrived. What is this? People are saying a new model of the headset? No, of course not. It's PS5 Pro has come out this week. And you can now play enhanced PSVR2 games. A few, anyway. I've been playing it. I've got a PSVR2 Pro and PS5 Pro. Alex has got one.
Yourself.
Alex has got one. He's not paid it yet, obviously, because he's on holiday. And yeah, I'm very impressed. It's just in general, PS5 Pro. I'm happy with the purchase. I don't have buyer's regret, which I was a bit worried I might do. There was a few times I was a bit like, do I need this? Do I need this? I bought it with vouchers, so I was stuck with it because I could only get a refund in vouchers for Argos. So I was like, no, I've got to keep
vouchers back over.
Gotta keep it now. Yeah. So, but no, I'm very happy with it. I've played a few games on it thus far. I've played what have I played? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, and they all look dramatically better and they play much nicer as well. That's the main thing for me, is they're so smoother to play and they look crisper as a result, and I've always hated having to choose between them. Star Wars Outlaws, which poor old game, has been getting a bit of a rough time, but that in particular plays just so much better now, just having a smoother, faster frame rate, because it did struggle before. And it's a really good looking game when it wants to be. There's some really, I'm in the jungle planet now, so there's loads of nice foliage and stuff to look really crisp everywhere. So I am very impressed by that. And I just jumped into Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm not going to start playing it until I've finished Final Fantasy and Star Wars, but I just had to jump in just to check it out, and it just looks so good. It's just ridiculous job they've done on that. And then, yeah, it is so crisp and high res and smooth. So it's kind of, the PS5 Pro is kind of fulfilling the promise that the PS5 should have been, really, which I do that does annoy me, that the PS5 should have been this from the start, where it should have we should have had 60 frames per second and 4K. That should have just been the promise of the generation. And then really we should just get some ray tracing on top, would be nice when that's possible. And it's not turned out like that this gen, which is a shame. But we have this mid-gen upgrade, and it does fix a lot of the issues that I've had with games like Final Fantasy and stuff, so that is good.
So with the PS5 Pro, this is the one thing I've always kind of, because it was a bit weird with the PS4 Pro when it first came out. It doesn't upgrade every game unless they get an upgrade for it, correct?
That's like right, yes.
Okay, so it's not like, obviously, with a PC where if one person's playing on a 3080 and 3060 or whatever, 4060, 4070, all your different graphics card.
Just say numbers at me now.
You kind of tweak the graphics yourself. Obviously, with the Pro, the devs have to upgrade it, don't they?
I think there's boosts if you're playing a game that's prone to like dropped frames and stuff.
Yeah, I think
it fixes like that kind of thing, but it won't enhance it anymore. Really, it just smooths out any kind of drops in performance.
I think that's okay, because I mean, I'm a person who prefers to have better frames over visual quality anyway. There's nothing worse than when you're playing a game and the frame drops and you notice it. And I mean, the one game that always comes to mind is Redfall, like a horrendous Xbox exclusive. But I remember how bad the frames were on that game. Literally,
I mean, that was the least of its problems, but yeah.
Shot the shotgun against the wall, and literally, I think it dropped down to about 4 frames per second. It was horrendous. So,
I didn't used to be a frame rate snob, but I didn't think I would be. But when I get used to playing games in 60, when I can't do that, I really do notice it now, and it feels like almost like the controls aren't responsive properly. So when I play anything on the Series S, like I love that little console, but if you play anything like Starfield on it, and Plague Tale, Requiem, just really just not pleasant. It feels like it is, but in motion, it feels like you're kind of walking through treacle to move.
Let me know how that is on the Pro when you get around to it. Pick that back up and try that on the Pro.
I'd have to restart it. There's no cross save. I wish there would be cross save. I'd be so happy because I've got it on PS Plus, so I could play it if I had PS Plus or when I get PS Plus. Please,
I think the Pro's going to make you a bit of a frame rate snob.
I mean, I was already, and that's I put as soon as I knew the Pro was coming, I stopped playing Final Fantasy because it's like this game is really annoying because it looked shite on the 60 frames mode. I had real visual problems, and on the normal visual mode, the 30 frames per second really did feel sluggish, and there's lots because you pan. It's a gorgeous game. You want to pan the camera around all the time to look around you and stuff, and look at enemies and look for things around the environment that you might want to collect and pick up and stuff. So you're always moving the camera around, and it just looks really juddery. It was really rough. So again, they're night and day on the PS5 Pro, so that's pretty cool.
I've always been one that.
Go on. What have you always been one that?
I've always been one that's just kind of like just rolled with it, like with the frames. If it's on the PlayStation, but like, it's what you've given me. It's what I'm going to have to deal with, and I just kind of, just crack on. But ever since getting a PC, I play a game on PlayStation and I go, oof, yeah, that could be better. And that's what's kind of making me go, oh, maybe I might get the PS5 Pro. And I'm like, no, I've just got the PC this year.
I think if you've got a really good PC, I wouldn't see the point. I think the PS5 Pro is for people like me that don't want a PC, but don't want to compromise on. So it's for the really lazy people like me that want really high performance stuff but don't want the PC, because you can get high performance and you've always been able to do that if you've got a PC. But if you're just someone like me that's just completely against wanting one.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's fair.
Just nice.
If you're a console person, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I was a console person. I still play console, but since getting the PC, I've been sinking a lot more time into that recently.
It's just whenever I get like a really good looking game, and do you want performance or fidelity mode? And I think, well, I'll try out a bit of both. And I spend like the first hour or two playing it, flicking between them to see which one I like. And I'm like, oh, I like that aspect of that one.
Yeah,
Flick over.
you don't want that
I like
compromise.
that. I don't want, like, neither of them are perfect. Both of them are compromised in some way.
Yeah.
And that's always really annoying me, because you play these big games that have been like hundreds of millions of dollars to make them and stuff. And you've got to compromise it in some way. Either you turn down the visuals or you turn down the frame rate. And that's just like, why can't they make a game with visuals and frame rate that there shouldn't need to be a choice? And now there is. Yeah. So that's good. It's a bloody expensive solution to that problem, but there we are.
For another 3 more years until they release the PlayStation 6.
Well, yeah, 3 or 4 years.
I might just hold out to that at this point.
Well, yeah. But VR though, so we've been quite cheeky here. PSVR2 Pro, and it's kind of because the PSVR2 is now running off a Pro console, so it enhances the PSVR2 games. So far there are three games that have released that have the patch, which is not great. It's Kayak VR, Cube, is that how you pronounce it? And Cube. No Man's Sky, which also got a big update this week for crossplay on it as well. Some bits and bobs. And most exciting, it's got Mass Effect Normandy ship in it. Which, for Mass Effect fans out there, that's like the biggest news. Forget
I'm
the fact
that jump in and play that.
Yeah, you can now fly the Normandy, so that's cool. But I'm going to focus on Kayak VR because that's the one that I have played. It has got a big resolution boost. So, yeah, I don't know what the exact sort of figures are or the numbers are. I can tell you it's gone from what to what, but you jump into it now and it looks noticeably sharper. It looks really, really, really good. The textures apparently they're all 8K textures now, if you say so. Okay. Yeah, I'm not an expert in these things, but I could just say that it looks really good now. It looked nice before, but a lot of VR games, PSVR2, they kind of do have that kind of soft focus on them.
Yeah.
And playing this and also playing Max Mustard, and you see how crisp games can be. Now I'm like, now I want all games to be this crisp. Because I went to see if there's any boost to normal games. I jumped into Horizon Call of the Mountain, and I played the river ride thing that is on there, the ride basically, and it doesn't look any different.
It doesn't.
I can't see any difference to that. I mean, it looked gorgeous before.
It looked great.
There's not been any patch or enhancement to it. It's not enhanced for PS5 Pro, and I can't see that the console is doing any kind of automatic boost or upscaling to it. But after playing Kayak, I could definitely notice that what I thought was like look gorgeous before. I was like, actually, yeah, I can see this is quite soft focus now compared to Kayak VR now is. So I really, really hope. And I probably won't do it now because they've probably disbanded the team that made it when they laid off loads of people at Firespray. But I'd love it if they did a patch for this to enhance this game, because this is kind of like the flagship PSVR2 game.
VR game, still, yeah, exactly.
That Sony made the only one. So it's a bit ridiculous that they haven't bothered to put an enhanced mode for this ready for day one. It's a bit of once again, a slap in the face to PSVR2 owners. Thanks, Sony.
There was another slap in the face I noticed as well.
What's that?
On the store, on the PlayStation, they've now knocked off the PSVR2 section, and it's now just says PS5 Pro Enhanced Games instead. And I'm like, great, I can't find the section of PSVR2 games coming. No, it's not there. I just can't see it.
Some people just can't play PS2 games.
Some people, obviously, you can search for the games, but it was always a great hub, and that was the great thing about searching for PSVR2 games. And now I can't find it, so that's a shame.
You'll get it right. He said, the console knows if you're looking at something through the headset or not. Why, when you've got the headset on and you go to the store, doesn't it just take you to the VR page? Like, automatically, it should just default to that if you're in the headset.
It's a great idea.
Like, yeah, why doesn't it do that? It just seems like they would sell so many more VR games.
Crying out loud.
Well, I don't think they're ready for that, but it's a good idea though.
I have got the actual specs up for the upgrade for Mirage.
Mm.
So the resolution's now, on the standard PS5 it's 60 to 90%, and on the Pro it's 90 to 100% dynamic resolution.
Of what?
So
I don't understand.
So obviously these are the upgrades to the Kayak VR Mirage. So on the standard version, obviously you said about the resolution not being as poppy as it was on the standard as it is now. Because on some levels you would have more of a drop than you would on others. So obviously on the Pro version you're going to get an actual continuous 90 to 100% resolution while going through the game, as opposed to a 60 to 90%.
Yeah, that seems like quite a big jump, doesn't it?
Yeah, the textures have changed, like you said, to cinematic 8K. Post-processing is now cinematic. Effects are now cinematic. Detail quality is now cinematic, as is the anti-aliasing. Frame rate is still 90 FPS on both systems, and there is none applicable to ray tracing. But there is a nice jump to everything on there. But they're the first people I've actually seen to put out a little spreadsheet like this to show you what's changed. And I think anyone that's doing this should do something like this, because when I saw this today and saw the 90 to 100% on the Pro, I was tempted to buy one. Because I was like, oh, if they can do that, others can do that.
Any VR devs out there, there is, I think you've got a window now. Like when the console first launched, I think you could sell a lot of games to PS5 Pro owners, also PSVR2, if you put out these patches, because people will be looking to see what the headset can do. Because I was playing Kite VR in it, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I can play a game that looks this good on a console. Now, granted, the headset and the console cost like 1,200 quid, so it's not like not a cheap setup. But it's still like sat there in my living room, going around Sevilla in a kayak, and this just looks like photorealistic. I can't believe games look this good, and we are where we are at with video games, because it's
I saw one of the best looking. You shared.
It's generally one of the best looking things that I've ever played. Like it's incredible, and you can, So there's just such an opportunity there for all these indie devs to go out, and that fair play to Cube for getting out there first at the blocks, and No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, just they would never stop making that game. I love it. They've got out
until
there.
They start work on their other game they're working on, until they actually release that.
Yeah, apparently
I can't remember the name of it. No More Light.
For No Man's Sky, they're saying, what do they say? The foveated rendering increases the effective resolution by 300%. What? And I did see someone say that it looks like incredible now on that game on the headset. And that for me, because when I went from playing this and then to Horizon Call of the Mountain, I was like, oh yeah, now I can see that the actual headset is capable of these really, really crisp visuals, crisper than this. And now I kind of want every game to go back. I'm not, frame rates are like whatever. It should just, okay, you can make it 90 FPS, but just go back and make everything really crystal clear, because that is, when you're playing VR and it's a bit soft focus, I'm always like tempted to sort of like move it around and recalibrate and think, is it
you
me?
Do that quite a bit, don't you? Yeah, because I'm like that.
Well, no, I don't. I never really once it's done. But I just, you kind of, when you try and find the sweet spot, I don't mess around with the lens positioning and stuff, but just trying to find the sweet spot.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that when it's looking a little bit off, but with the globular cluster on there, it kind of helps out quite a bit. I've not had to do it as much.
I had to, when I first plugged the PSVR2 into the PS5 Pro, I had to go through all the calibration again. And I was like, oh, I forgot about this. This is like 2 years ago since I last did this, and set up all the controllers and then mapped out the room for the first time and then did the eye tracking thing. And then once you do all that, it does a really cool, like, when it goes from the loaded time you first mapped out your room, it then loads this really cool effect that all this kind of shimmering PSVR2 logo appears in front of you. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool thing. I've never seen that since day one. Like, they should do that more often, because you could do all these really cool effects in menus. They're just, I don't know, they're just phone it in sometimes, don't they? It's just made me think, like, it's just such a clever bit of hardware. And now with the Pro, it's capable of such ridiculously good things. And I think it goes back to what Miles said, that on the PS6 could still be using this headset, and this headset will still look amazing on the PS6, because like the processing power just boosts with the visuals on it even more. There's no problem with the lenses though. They look incredible. Like, yeah. Exciting times. So I hope there's going to be some more patches for stuff. I know we've got a couple more coming that have been announced, haven't there? There's Subside.
Yeah,
and
Subside.
And Arachnophobia as well, which are due, both of them, to launch with Pro support. And it wouldn't surprise me now if pretty much every game coming out is going to launch with Pro support, even if it's a resolution bump, which presumably is quite a straightforward thing to do during development. I really hope that it just becomes the norm for all VR games going forward.
All they need to do is just mirror what they can get onto a similar graphics, like a similar GPU that you can get on PC. Just mirror that to the PSVR2 version. That's all they really need to do going forward, if they want to. I mean, it probably sounds more simple putting it that way than it does when actually developing a game.
It's easy, easy.
Yeah, just throw that in there, mate.
Just right click on the game and upgrade.
Yeah,
easy.
just press update.
Yeah. Sharper.
Yes.
You can do it on your monitor as well. You just do like sharpen. They just need to do that.
Just change the brightness and just hope for
now,
the
one
best.
game you've apparently had it confirmed that one game that's not going to be getting the PS5 Pro update is Metro Awakening.
Yeah, they responded. They responded back to somebody. So somebody commented on their thing saying, "Is there going to be any pro support for the game?" And they responded back saying, "At this time, it's not something in the pipeline. It's not something they're considering."
Absolute shitbags.
I mean, it looks great. It does look great. I mean, the only thing setback for that game for me, and I think a lot of people have been saying it, is the mirror, and that's sadly that's
going to fix that.
You're not going to be able to fix that. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, I don't remember Madison VR. Somebody's mentioned this to me a few times. Madison VR, when that game's pitch black, I don't remember seeing that much mirror in it. I need to jump back into it, but fear. But yeah, I need to jump back into it and have a look at the mirror on that because I don't remember there being that much. And if so, somebody needs to figure out how they've done that and just kind of replicate that.
Yeah, it's wondrous how it can be fine with one game and other ones don't do it. I mean, in terms of things that I'd like to see get patched now, I mean, Red Matter already looks amazing and sharp. So I'd love to see. Well, I just love to see how much they could turn that up and just how far they could get that because that'd be crazy.
They put the Pro upgrade on it, it just blows up your PS5 just because of how much they just go. Yeah, let's just try that. Let's just turn it up by 100.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of like the big games. I mean, the Synapse would be good with it. GT7 will get a patch at some point. It hasn't got one yet. I played that today as well, and again, it still looks cool. I didn't notice any difference to how it played before.
I need to play it. I still haven't played it. I'm still waiting for a decent sale.
That's ridiculous.
I know. It's insane.
Hubris would be another good one to see because that would look good.
See, that's the thing with PSVR2, and like it's the same thing that I said about Quest. When developers want to develop it to make it look good, it will look good on the hardware that you have. So, like the normal PS5, it looked great on that. Like Red Matter, for instance, we've always said how great that looks. Hubris, that's another one that looks great. And it's the same thing with Quest when you play games like Contractors or if you play something like Batman. They look fantastic because the developers have really understood how to utilize the system itself. And as long as developers know how to do that going forward, you're going to have a really nice looking game. But if they don't want to push the tech and do things like that, then that's when you're going to get games that make you go, eh. But artistic choice comes into it, and I'm not saying that what I've just said to kind of deter from artistic choice because there is a lot of games where they want to go for pixelated art, and I'm all for that. Do whatever you think that kind of matches your vision. But it just proves that the headset itself and the standard PS5 can push these really good titles. And I'm just hoping with these pro upgrades, like you said, just kind of gives it that extra little oomph for the big enthusiasts.
Yeah, I think stuff like Vendetta Forever, it's not going to make any difference. It already looks amazing. They've chosen an art style that gets brilliant performance on the headset and the console as it is. I'm thinking of it's these kind of flagship games that Sony put out there as an example of you need to buy a PSVR 2 because you can't play games like this elsewhere. So you see Resident Evils, your Horizon, your GT7s. Basically, that's it because that's Synapse as well, I guess. But those are the games that are out there. And then Metro, I would probably have put on that list. I hope Behemoth is going to have some support because that looks like it's going to be quite a demanding game. Alien, that game that I can't remember the name of. What's the subtitle? Don't know. Rogue Incursion. That's going to get.
I think Behemoth. I feel like the devs of Behemoth would be able to push something like that. I mean, they're one that went back and upgraded. Obviously, when the Quest 3 came out, they went back and upgraded Saints and Sinners on the Quest 2 to the Quest 3, and also did the same with Saints and Sinners 2. So they've already went back and upgraded their games before. So I wouldn't be surprised if when they finish Behemoth, they even look to go with Saints and Sinners and maybe upgrade that again. Because let's be honest, Saints and Sinners is still a very big VR game. It's still one of the big top sellers. So they might even go back and do that once they've done Behemoth. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do a pro version for Behemoth. Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite excited by the PS5 Pro and what it means for PSVR 2 because just playing that one game has just shown me that it can have a dramatic impact on making games look really nice and clean and sharp. So if it makes PSVR 2 fidelity even more for those big games that are going to be able to make the most of it, then all for it. I really want to check out No Man's Sky on the headset now. I've been wanting to play No Man's Sky for ages anyway, but now
It's
I really want to jump into it.
It looks great on the PSVR1, so I've jumped into it a couple of times on PSVR2, but not enough to kind of rave about it. But I remember it always looking great on PSVR1, so I mean, yeah, they've probably done something amazing with the Pro update.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. How much is it these days? No one knows. It's impossible to find out either. Yeah. Let's move on to the news. But yeah, no, I'll be looking forward to playing more games on it, and as they come, as the patches come, certainly. Let's jump onto the news, and let's start with Alien Rogue Incursion, which has been delayed on Quest. So still coming to PC and PSVR2 in the original date, which was December, something or other. But it's coming out later on Quest. Have they given a date on Quest now?
19th. Not on Quest, no, but I feel like it was 19th on PlayStation.
I've just said they've delayed it till next year now, so hopefully that's not going to be a huge delay. I mean, it's good that they've done that, I think. No point just rushing it to get them all out on the same day if it's not going to be optimized well for Quest, because that's probably going to be where most people are playing it. So better to give it the time it needs to get it running as well as it can.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it is what it is. It's good that the game's still coming out. I mean, part of me does want them to hold it back completely, because if it is a narrative experience, and like if there is quite a push for story on it, and things get spoiled for Quest players, and then by the time it comes around to Quest, it might lower their sales and things like that. So there is always that kind of should they just hold it back completely? But you know, they'll make the best decision they think. But either way, I'm still happy it's coming, because it's one I'm really excited for.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, January is a good time to release games as well, because everyone's at home and got little money, so just be able to treat yourself to a game and play it indoors. Could be better than. No one's December. Everyone's got Christmas parties and family over and stuff. You can't play VR when all that's going on, can you? So
you can just put on the headset, just ignore that they're there.
Well, next month we'll be playing that, and something else we might be playing next month, that's also coming out in December, is Stranger Things VR. It's coming to PSVR2 on the 5th of December. I think Sony put a tweet out about this as well, so obviously they recognise
the trailer out on their channel as well, I believe, as well.
Yeah. Do we know anything about this in terms of the port? Is it being any bells and whistles to accompany
I've not read into anything. Yeah, I'm not too sure about if there's any upgrades to the port. As far as I'm aware, it's just the Quest version. Some people were excited for it. Some people that have already played it have made a few comments here and there. So I'm hoping there is some sort of upgrades, because I remember there being some issues with it when it first released on Quest. I've always been intrigued by it. I think the art style is quite nice, and also as a fan of Stranger Things, I think being able to experience the world as Vecna, I think sounds really cool. So it's always intrigued me, and it was on sale on Quest a few weeks back, and I nearly picked it up, but I was playing another game, so it's just kind of like juggling stuff. But I'm definitely think I'm going to play it when it comes to PSVR2. I want to see if they do add haptics and things like that. So
I'm quite excited for it, because I am a big Stranger Things fan, and I've been to see the Stranger Things theatre show, whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't recall it either.
The First Shadow. The First Shadow, it's called. So that's the stage show. Anyone that gets a chance to go and see the stage show, it's absolutely brilliant. It's like a whole series of the show condensed into 2 or 3 hour stage show. But the actors that do it, they play it. It's like a prequel, so it's got all of the like Hopper and Winona Ryder's character when they're all at high school still. And it shows you Vecna there at school with them, or who he was. It's really good. And so this VR, it kind of picks up on that story and links into all of those as well. So, and it's only 4 hours long, so perfect sort of game for me to just jump into and get more of the story and play more as Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I think it's as long as it's done right and they've fixed the issues that they previously had and worked upon, stuff that was raised by a lot of people that reviewed it on Quest, I think we could be in for something quite fun to play.
It was quite mixed, wasn't it? Quite the reviews.
Yeah, it was mixed reviews. Some people said they loved what they played, and I think from what I remember, a lot of the fans of the show said they enjoyed it for the reasons of it being connected to the show and things like that. However, they didn't enjoy some of the actual gameplay mechanics because they were flawed in some ways. So, yeah, I'm still intrigued, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point.
Well, hopefully my love of the show will see me through.
I mean, it's 4 hours, campaign. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Okay, we'll come back to that one in December once you've had a chance to play that one. Starship Troopers, talking about people having a chance to play it. They have people been having a go on that one. Some creators have been having a go. And go on.
Yeah, I saw Beardo Benjo's video, and he actually had... I always forget the actor's name, but he had the actor that plays Rico in his video as well, which was really cool to watch, because I thought I was watching a promo video at first, and I feel like that's quite a high compliment to say, actually, because the way it just started, I was like, have I clicked on the trailer by accident? And he was just Benjo just standing like, yes sir. So and he showed some gameplay, and yes, I mean the art style, although it looks better in the video he showed than it did in the little snippet trailer that we saw, it is quite cartoony, quite pastel-y, things like that. However, it does look fun. It looks quite enjoyable, and I think it's going to be a good laugh with friends. And there's XP system in it, and yeah, you unlock guns. There's stuff to work towards. So even though it seems to be quite a cheap experience in the price you're paying, I feel like it's going to give you some time in the world that you're, experiencing. So I think that's quite nice. But yeah, I know. So Beardo said it was pretty decent, or what he played of it. He, hyped it up in the video. And then Gamertag, he played an early build of it, and I'm pretty sure he said, what he played of he enjoyed. He said he had some bugs and things like that, not the actual arachnids, but he had some bugs. But he did specify in the video that it was a really early build, and he's aware of that. But both of them seem to have kind of said some nice things, and they walked away by saying it's a fun experience, which I have seen some people spike up and say, well, fun doesn't specify a good game. No, but at least if you walk away having fun from a game, you're going to feel like your money's been well spent. So let's hope a lot of people find it fun.
To me, it looks like it's playing to that Ghostbusters VR crowd, where you could just get a group of friends together, have a silly old time. It's not particularly challenging. It's just fun, and you have to kind of work together to achieve objectives. And yeah, kind of Ghostbusters meets Helldivers.
Yeah, and maybe that's what Sony Pictures VR is going for, because if you notice how both these games look very similar in their graphic style,
I do.
I wonder if they're doing this, and that's what they're going to be aiming for, is to have these type of small multiplayer experiences in VR of their movies. And if so, it's not necessarily going to be a bad thing, because it's going to keep hitting that the stuff that fans want. But at the same point, I suppose if you want a huge Starship Troopers experience in VR, I don't know if this is going to be it. We haven't played it yet, but
it's a bit like the Stranger Things, isn't it? If you're a fan of the IP, you're probably willing to. You don't want
exactly.
It's a different kind of audience. It's like, I like this. I want to get a headset. Well, I've got a headset. I'm quite keen to jump in to see that world in VR. It's quite cool. It's like Twilight Zone and stuff like that. It's like, it doesn't need to be a great game, because fans of that IP just want to jump into that world.
Yeah, and I feel like it's like with Stranger Things, as long as the story's done right, you're going to respect what you played of it. You're going to enjoy that time with it. If it's done wrong, then you're going to feel like what you've played is sullied the actual idea of the show. But I mean, with Starship Troopers, as long as you get to kill a ton of arachnids, I think we're all going to be walking away really happy. So
cool.
Yeah, it's
hopefully
really
we'll get some hands-on.
Yeah, it's really spiked my hype for it. Let's put it that way.
Well, I hope we'll get some hands-on time in a few weeks' time, and we can give our thoughts on the game. Let's do a few bits of quick-fire, final bits of news there. Gorilla Tag, it was further revealed. We heard it was coming to PSVR2 this week, I think. Turns out it's only coming to the US at launch, and it's not going to include crossplay, which is kind of a bummer for that game, because it's got like, isn't it, 1 million players every day playing it, and there ain't going to be 1 million players playing it on PSVR2. Let me put it that way.
No.
So that's a shame, I guess. And only US at launch, no date at all for the rest of the world. So we shall have
Seems odd.
Yeah, I mean, the whole game seems fairly odd, Reece. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, it's not one that I think I share Alex's levels of enthusiasm for this one.
We're getting you to play it. That's the decision. We're actually going to get you to play it and then give your thoughts on it.
No, we're getting Ben's kid to play it. He's excited for it. Get him on the show.
Fair play.
Show his old man how it's done. So Gorilla Tag, we'll wait and see if that comes to the UK, and if we should care if it does. Next up, Metro Awakening. We'll talk about it again in a bit more, but that's getting an update. An Arachnophobia mode has been added just for you, Reece. No more. You're going to have to be terrorized by VR spiders all over your hands and face. So that's nice. Shame you've already completed the game, but there you go.
Yeah, I was going to go back through it recently, but I'm now going to save going back through it until the Arachnophobia mode comes in, if I can hold off that long. So
well, let's come back to Metro in a second. Final thing, it's Zombie Army. It's been delayed to 2025. The developers put out the classic statement that just said they need a bit more time. Needs a bit more time so we can fully deliver the game that we want and we believe you deserve. Yeah,
I think this is to be expected.
I didn't realise it was coming this year anyway, to be honest. There's so many big games coming out already, then it's like good. They should definitely have delayed it because,
some people had hands on at Gamescom, and they, from what I remember, a lot of them slated it quite heavily and said they need to just kind of press pause on this, do some more work. And then you heard nothing for a while, so people just kind of thought that they've ignored what that feedback was. Clearly, they've taken it into account, and that's what they're doing. So good on them.
Good. Yeah, good. Yeah, take as long as you need. As long as you need. So that's it. That's it for the news. Let's talk about what we've been playing, and we will do a proper review of Metro Awakening in a second. We did our first impression snap video that went out, so people can tune into that if they want to see just a dedicated episode to that. But we'll give it some more in-depth thoughts now. But before then, Reece, why don't you tell us what you've been playing on Quest?
I've been playing some Strike Rush, which is a game we mentioned last week that was shown in EGX, the VR Spotlight. It was, it's basically a bit similar to like Overwatch. You choose your hero, and you have PvP matches, and there's mechs in it and all that kind of stuff. So I played this originally a while back and had some fun with it, and then kind of came away from it. But I went back into playing it, and I played some of it last night. And unfortunately, the servers were completely empty at the time I went on, and it was really upsetting because I remember having quite a lot of fun with this, and it was completely empty. So I ended up jumping on with the Hippie Pickle, which is one of the followers in our Discord, and a listener of the show. He jumped in, played a few matches with me, and we was having a good laugh, to be fair. And we both walked away kind of saying the same thing, like, if this was a full lobby, this would be a lot of fun. And it was fun. We were enjoying ourselves. Shooting's pretty decent on it. The mechs are pretty cool. You feel very overpowered when you're using a mech. I was having fun with it. And then I think we played maybe for about an hour and a half until we kind of said, we're not getting into a match with anyone else. Let's press pause on this and come back to it another time. They have just recently dropped a 90% discount sale on the Quest store that you can find on their Twitter page. So hopefully that helps get some more players back into it. And they have dropped Season 2, which has a new Blitzer, which is like the heroes in it. So you got a new Blitzer and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully...
Is it better than Concord?
It's still going. It's lasted longer than 8 weeks. Yeah. I mean, there is that.
Sony should have done 90% sale.
We know how I felt about Concord. I'm still upset about that game's fate, but nonetheless, it happened, and I think Sony have learned a very, very, very strong lesson from that one.
Should have just made it PlayStation All Stars.
Mate, what a
arena
classic.
shooter.
What a classic. I think it's a lot of fun. I think, again, this is always an issue with multiplayer games in VR, is that when they're set to one system only, you can struggle with retention very heavily. And we've said this so many times here. Like, VR shooters and multiplayer shooters or just multiplayer games in VR need to be on every system. I know, obviously, there's always that struggle of, will it sell more on this system, or just try it? Because at the end of the day, if it dies on one system, if it comes over to the other system, people are going to hear that the servers are now pretty empty and they're not going to want to jump in. So I'm hoping it picks up.
Yeah, it's a very, very brave developer that makes a hero shooter exclusive to one platform in VR. Like, you're making a niche. It's a niche genre.
In a niche
platform of VR on a niche single headset
Yeah.
It's like, you have got some balls there, guys. You've clearly got some money to burn. It's a high risk development there.
But no, the thing is, though, it is a shame because I have been having fun with it, and I will jump back into it. It will stay on my quest, and I'm going to jump into it in intervals to see if I can find any players. But my takeaway from the game is with a full lobby, this will be a lot of fun. It's not a bad game. I wasn't disappointed in the gameplay or anything like that. I was having fun, but I think the enjoyment will be brought by having a full lobby, because going against bots in games, you can only do that for so long until you go, right, this is just a bit boring now, because you know the way they move.
Mm-hmm.
But no, hopefully everyone will check it out. If the 90% is still on when this episode goes out, give it a go. I think it drops it down to like £1.50. So, hey, and join the Discord. If you do pick it up, join the Discord.
Can't get much for £1.50 these days, can you?
No, I don't think you can get a Costa coffee for £1.50, can you?
No, you can get a Greg sausage roll. That's about it.
Oh, nice.
You can't get a coffee.
Festive bake. The festive bake is back, people. All right. Just wanted to mention
for £1.50.
I don't know if it was £1.50. Oh no, it might have been. I think
it's Greg's, for Christ's sake. It's not going to be more than £2, is it?
Yeah, it might have been £2 or something like that. But yeah, it's back. That's the real excitement of this episode. I'm going to put that as the title. Festive bake.
What is it? I'm guessing it's that sort of turkey cranberry stuffing.
Yeah. It's the best thing ever created. Anyways,
American listeners don't know what you're missing out here.
But yes, if anyone does pick up Strike Rush, feel free to drop into the Discord. Give us a shout if you're jumping into it, because I'm sure myself and some of the others in there that play the game will be more than happy to jump on just to kind of fill up a lobby space. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can confirm Reece would definitely be up for jumping in.
Some shooty games, yes. Anything shooty related.
Shooty, shite. Oh, is Discord still going anyway? I jest. I do check in from time to time.
Yeah, we had some funny messages in there today. We had one of them made me chuckle. Somebody put in a little meme, and it said Gorilla Tag gameplay leaked on the PS5 Pro, and it was just a scene from Planet of the Apes, and it made me laugh.
Nice. Not quite.
It's thriving. It's a good place to be. We're all very happy in there.
Yes, no, I jest. I just forget that all these things exist. But you should go on Discord. It's cool. Metro. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Metro Awakening. And I say we gave our first impressions early this week, or last week. People can tune into those. So let's just expand on that now. Let's take it for granted that people have already listened to that. Let's not go through it again. Suffice to say, well, give us the 1 minute summary of that episode. Suffice to say, we were both very impressed by it. We thought it was very cool. I think the Miura is the only real drawback on PSVR2. For me, it could be a bit fiddly with stuff, but that's probably just a me problem, just with the gun stuff. I don't like that games. I don't keep going on Star Wars Outlaws, but that game is really fucking good. If you don't like something, you can just switch it off, because the accessibility on it is fantastic, like the best I've ever tried. If there's a type of puzzle, like you have to kind of do it, it's like a rhythm game to hack into stuff, like a hacking mini game that's like basically a rhythm game. And I always shite at it, and I was like, this is not fun. Every time I do this, I get stuck on it, and it's slowing me down. You can just go to the menu and switch it off, and I'm like, that's great. So you just come up to these things that you press a button, it just does it. And I'm just like, why can't all games be made around this? That you kind of, if someone just struggles with something, like me reloading stuff, just let me switch it off. Or like, I don't know, just little quality of life stuff like that. I think people should just have a lot more freedom to play around with. It would just make my life so much happier, because I'd be able to enjoy these games a lot more than I do. I wouldn't keep getting frustrated. But anyway, I digress. It's still a fantastic game. It looks amazing. It's a proper big, chunky, meaty game. Yep. And people should check it out.
Yeah, I've seen a few comments here and there asking, when does the game pick up? When does it get good? And things like that. And I think a lot of people that are playing this might be forgetting that Metro, even though it is action in some places, it's always been a narrative game.
Yeah.
There's a very set story to follow. It's quite linear. Apart from like later on in Metro games, like maybe Exodus and things like that, that was a little bit more free roamy and you can do things here and there. But the original ones are always kind of a very linear experience, you know.
And I was expecting it to be quite a story.
Yeah,
it's not a big action game.
No, and I think that's the thing with the game, and I think it's one thing we didn't really mention last time, is that it builds up on that with the action, because it doesn't always happen. So you always got your gun at the ready, because you always think something's going to happen. You're always basically on the edge of your seat, ready to shoot. and then nothing will happen. You'll be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then just when you think nothing's going to happen, something will jump through a window and just absolutely scare the shit out of you to the point where you're spraying your gun all over the place. And I think they've done these moments so well to the point where you don't expect them. And then when they hit you, you appreciate those moments even more because you're like, oh my God, that was quite hectic. And then you go back through the pacing again. And I think that's one thing I can say about this game is that the pacing is done so well. You know, you go for a bit where you're exploring, hearing the narrative, and then all of a sudden you're going for a little bit of an action, and then you're back to something a little bit more quiet, and then it kind of, you know, you go for these motions that really makes you appreciate your time within this world of Metro.
Yeah, it's kind of like story bit, explory bit,
yeah,
fighty, shooty bit, being hunted kind of.
Yeah.
Bit. I find that so most of the stuff that I've had to fight at the moment are those kind of crazy dog monster things, and I find them quite stressful. The way that they circle around and they hunt you, and they kind of scamper, and they're just completely a bit very skittish, and they run around and they kind of flank you and they jump out, and the sound is great on it because you can hear them where they are. But then there's several of them, so it's just impossible to keep tabs on all of them. So
that's another thing as well, because I mean, when you play it, you don't really take note of how good the AI is on those things. You just kind of be in the moment. You're like, where's it gone? Where's it gone? And you just shoot it when it comes back. I was watching. I can't remember what I was watching, but it jumped through the window. They shot it, and it ran down a corridor and completely disappeared down the corridor. And the whole time he was pointing at that corridor, thinking, "Oh, it's just going to come back that way." It literally circled round through one of the tunnels and just appeared to his left. And I thought, you know what? Most AI would they would have it so it kind of hit a certain area and then it would come back within that area. But this thing did like a whole 360 just to get back to him. And I thought, I never really noticed that while playing it. Even though I knew it happened, I just didn't really take note of it in terms to appreciate it. Because I think in the moment when you're in that headset, you're like, where the fuck's it gone? Kind of thing. And you don't take that time. So I think that was really
it's
cool.
kind of immersive enough that you're not sitting there thinking about the AI past stuff that it's taking.
It's
I hate
really
whenever
cool.
you see those little holes that they come out of, those little tunnels. Every time you see one, you expect something to come out of it.
Yeah, you just look
a lot of
past
them
it.
Just nothing ever comes out of them. They're just kind of dummy holes that just freak you out for just to keep you on your toes. But it just messes with you. It's great. I mean, there have been some mixed reviews of it, hasn't it? There's some reviewers just say they don't like it or they think it's boring. It's kind of monotonous. It's just kind of repetitive and stuff. I think Eurogamer's
Metro couldn't finish Metro. That was the one that made me laugh.
That really did make me laugh.
That broke though. Like, I started laughing. I was like, this is just.
Well, I mean, if you had a game breaking bug, you had a game breaking bug. But it seems like a silly thing to not. I suppose if you've got a deadline, but surely you could have
not heard anyone else come to a game breaking bug though. No one else has mentioned it, and there's been literally every VR reviewer has reviewed this game, and I don't think any of them that I've seen have said there was a game breaking bug for them. So I think that's why everybody was kind of like, well, this just seems like bullshit. But hey, maybe they did. I seem to be one of the only ones that experienced quite a lot of crashes.
And I haven't done anything so far.
I was so happy because I was watching some people's streams, and I did join one at one point. And as soon as I joined, his game crashed. I was like, great! So it wasn't just me that had PSVR2 crashes.
Well, maybe it's just you that make games crash.
Maybe
think about that.
That's what somebody actually said in the chat as well.
Cursed motherfucker. But I think for people that are on the fence about it, just listen to a few reviews. Like obviously, Reece absolutely loves it. I do really like it. I'm probably not sort of on it, Reece, but I don't have that Metro experience with that series.
Yeah.
Listen to some reviews that don't like it and see which ones you think you sound more like align with what your expected views on it would be. I think it's definitely worth taking a go on because it's a very impressive game, if nothing else.
I think my critiques are very minor for it, and they're critiques because of stuff I've appreciated from the main non-VR games. But the more I thought about them is, it's because obviously there's VR and there's limitations, although I think they could have been done. I'm going to hold off saying some of those now, just simply because it will spoil it. And I know Laurie hasn't finished it yet, and I know some other people out there haven't finished it yet. And I feel like if I say this one bit, people will go, oh, okay. And I think that will kind of it might spoil some, not really the game or the story or anything like that. I think it'll just kind of maybe spoil some expectations you may have. So I'll hold off on those. It doesn't make the game worse in any way. It's just from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, for me, I find it's little things like the having to recharge a torch quite regularly, and on a controller, if it's pressing a button, that would be a problem. But just having to stop what you're doing, take your bag out, take the little thing out, charge it, and then put it all back again. It's just like, why are you just slowing down the rhythm, the flow of this game just to make me charge the head torch?
This is the beautiful nature of subjectiveness to gaming, because that part there with recharging my torch, loved every single time I had to do it.
Yeah, if I could switch that off, if I could just like put a thing in the menu, just that the torch stays charged the whole fucking time, or if I must recharge it, just let me tap a button on the controller. Just let me go tap, 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 tap. I would much rather do that as I'm walking along.
You can overcharge it as well if you keep doing it too much to the point where it starts flickering and dimming out. And there was one point where I forgot that, and I was like, why is my torch not working?
Because it's kind of linked to my other criticism is that it's quite hard to see stuff on it just because it's so dark all the time. And just a lot of time my torch will fade. I don't realise it's faded. And that's why it's so hard to see, because the fucking torch has gone down. And I only charged it like a minute ago.
I think it was about like chapter 6. I think when I got to chapter 6, I got into the motion of pretty much recharging my torch like every 3 minutes, something like that, and just pulling the bag out, doing it when I checked my ammo. And it became this, it was just something I always thought about. Every time I touched the bag, it was to recharge my torch. And you get into that motion of it. But I do think from the appreciation, and I've seen, you're not the only person I've seen criticise that thing, but I think the people that will appreciate that side of it is the fans of the original games, because that right there is something you have to do all the time in the actual non-VR games. So doing that in VR for myself, I was like, I'm actually in there. I'm doing this stuff, and that felt really cool for me.
Yeah, and I get that. I just wish they were kind of Duracells rather than just like
they're clearly energizers.
Tesco value. Yeah.
They're clearly the off-brand.
They're like Wilco batteries that I used to get for like 50p before.
Kodak batteries that explode in there. Yeah,
give me some Duracell Ultra, please, in that thing. But again, that could be a menu setting. Just like we could have it like easy, medium, hard. On hard mode, the battery goes out all the time, and you have to make yourself vulnerable by stopping all the time to recharge it. Easy mode, just give me the battery, just let it last 3 times as long as it does, and I wouldn't mind so much. Just a little thing like that. I just find it irritating. But again, they're quite minor things. It doesn't ruin the game for me. It's just like, this. I would enjoy this more if it did this or if it did that and stuff.
And I think that's
maybe
fair.
maybe they can respond and patch, but I don't know that they will. But
I mean, if they're doing this Arachnophobia mode, I think the future is quite bright into what they can do. So maybe they can do a mode where the torch is always on.
Well, it's not bright enough, is it? That's the future. It's not bright.
Right, okay, they've already given up on the pro version. Well, actually, they might not. They've just only said that to one person in a comment, and that might just be to kind of.
We can't announce it yet.
Yeah, they haven't like officially announced it in the sense of like a huge post. They just said to somebody in a comment, "There's nothing in the pipeline," but that might be to lower people's expectations because it's not something they're doing right now, and they don't want to be kind of forced into doing that.
Also, they probably don't want to slow down sales on the Quests either, because if we say we've got a souped-up version coming in a few months' time, people will be like, "I'll hold off and I won't play it."
Yeah. To be fair, it looks good. It looks good on the Quest 3. I've played it on the Quest 3 and I played it on the PSVR2, and it looks good on both. Yes, some areas look a little bit like dimmer on the Quest 3, just simply because you've not got that OLED panels to make it completely dark, so it looks a bit murkier as opposed to like a complete darkness. But again, that made me appreciate moments more on the PSVR2, like because it made it more creepy. But I think maybe yourself would probably appreciate the Quest 3 version because you would actually be able to see stuff when your torch goes out, because you could just.
Well, I'm going to play around with the brightness settings and stuff and see how that goes. But
I'll be honest, it doesn't do much.
Oh, okay. I think it's. I say I want more narrative games. I love these narrative games in VR. I think it tells the story really well. I'm really intrigued. That it's without knowing the Metro series, I'm still really intrigued. The story it's telling and about, you can tell there's like an author behind it that's written this almost kind of this drama about some guy whose wife works on a mushroom farm, and she's not taking her meds, and she's starting to hallucinate her dead son. It's like straight away, I'm just really intrigued. I need to know what happens with this dude's wife. And then what happens? You try and go get her meds, and that doesn't work out. So you're like, oh, what's going to happen now? It's
gripping, and I think that's really good. It's so nice to see, and I have seen a few people online saying, "Oh, brought a tear to my eye," kind of thing, and I think that I felt that same way. It was a very nice.
I almost wish, and again,
story.
I don't want to make out that I'm just a complete hopeless case when it comes to games, because I'm not. I can be good at some games, but like some games like Horizon and stuff and Ghost of Tsushima, they'll always ship now. They'll have a story mode where you have like an easy, normal, hard, ultra hard, and there'll be a story mode which is basically like no combat at all, almost like the combat is laughably easy, or you can't die.
You just don't die, basically.
I would quite like this game to have that, so I didn't, and that's completely different to what you're looking from it. But I want to just get to the end of the story, and if I keep dying in battles, that's just gonna frustrate me.
Think, and I'm saying this from someone who's completed the story. I want everyone who plays VR to experience the story. If anyone's put off from playing this game, say for the spiders, for instance, I'm glad they've announced that because I want people to experience that story. And if that's something that puts them off, now they'll have a reason to be able to play it. And I do think a game like this should have a story mode, like you've said, where either you don't die or you have unlimited ammo, so you don't have to keep searching, or your torch is always on.
And it's not that I particularly want that, but I just, like you say, I just want to make it accessible to as many people as possible.
And I think, like as well, where people may be a fan of these previous games, they may not be big on shooting games in VR. Who knows? Their go-to games in VR might be something a little bit away from what they play in non-VR. So to be able to experience the story of something they might be a fan of, I think that would be fair for them to do so.
Did you find it funny? Because when I played Resident Evil 4 in VR, and when I played it non-VR, I was like, oh God, how do you hit anything in this game? Because when you're just used to VR, you just look at what you want to shoot at, point at. It's easy to aim because it just feels so natural. And then when you switch back to use a controller, was that because you came from the other way around, like playing first person shooters using a controller?
Oh, you mean with Metro?
Yeah, so then when you go from that to then playing it in VR, and you're like, oh, this is better. Like now, finally, I can just hit stuff.
It felt right, but that's because this is a dedicated VR version. I feel like if this was a VR version for, like, say, like a DLC for one of the previous ones, it would be a bit different because it might not have felt exactly the same. But I feel like where this is a dedicated VR game, it felt right straight off the bat. But I will say I've had a similar experience as you have with Resident Evil 4 because I played Resident Evil 4 in VR first, and then jumped into the non-VR version. I was like, oh no, I'll play the VR one. And it was also exactly the same with Resident Evil 7 for me.
Interesting. Well, that's Metro Awakening. I think let's leave it there. Unless you've got any final thoughts that you want to...
No, nothing else to this week.
People, I say check out the snap we did if you want some more impressions around that game. But otherwise, thanks again for listening, everyone. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could please tell your family and your friends all about us. And if you want to get more involved, as Reece has said, please don't hesitate to jump into our Discord and say hello. Thanks, everyone that's done so already. We love seeing you all there. I've been your host, Laurie. I've been joined by Reece, and we will see you again next time. Until then, it's goodbye.